If you want to build this right here, then you've come to the right place. I'm going to show you step by step how I was able to make this winter landscape. And you know, surprisingly, it's pretty damn easy. Without further ado, let's just get started because there's a lot to cover here when I only have so little time to edit this video. Oh my God. First of all, if you want to copy my lighting settings, here they are right here. Nothing too complicated. Time of day is at 8 p.m. Fog thickness is at 30. I left everything else default, and I think it looks fairly decent. Now, you might want to change the light color to white. Gives it more of like a cold feel. Or maybe even like if there's does cyan look good? Honestly, maybe. You could probably make cyan work. I'm gonna set mine to white because I think it feels more wintry. And I have this idea. I'm going to have mountains on the left or on the right over here, right? So I'm gonna have a mountain range kind of like that. Hey guys, you should at least know the basics of creative if you're actually going to follow this as a tutorial. So basically how to use the phone and how to resize things like this and how to, you know, rotate things. In the end, it's all pretty basic stuff. I kind of want to add a river that runs through the mountains. So actually, I'm gonna select these over here. I'm gonna make them way taller like that. And I'm just going to set a grid snap and I'm going to play with the depth a little bit. And I'm just going to make an ice river out of the ice blocks, obviously. Okay, so now we have this. This area is probably going to be covered by a bunch of rocks and mountains. And I want to have the river kind of droop down a little bit. I'm completely going off of nothing here. I'm making this up as I'm going. I have no idea what I'm doing. So in the end here, guys, all I really did is I took my modular terrain and my ice and I made a fairly basic layout. Obviously, I'm not done. I'm going to keep going. But I'm basically just laying out what I'm going to build. As you can see, like this is super rough. It does not look good at all right now. And we're going to work on making it look good eventually. And you know, all these little icicle things, I'm not going to use those probably. So I'm just going to delete them. Now something here looks a little off and that's this part. So I'm going to adjust it a little bit. I think this part looks a little weird too. Now you want to think about how like water is going to flow, right? So like obviously the pond is frozen over, but you're not going to have water that like flows over the top here, but then nothing's frozen on these rocks down here. You know what I mean? That doesn't make any sense. You want to make sure like what you're building actually like works in the real world, or else people are going to notice that and it's going to look all weird. So I'm just going to cover this up right here. And there you go. So here we go. Now we have this ice river. We have mountains we are going to work on a bit later. And we have these winter cabins that we're also gonna put in a little later. I'm just going to mark them a little better. Okay, and I'll get into how we're gonna do that a little later. And I just realized this is looking a little off over here. See, like even I don't realize that I'm screwing up when I am. See, that looks great. That looks really good. Now let's make these rocks kind of blend into those mountains up there. Completely flip the rocks on their head. I'm just gonna place them there. Rotate a little bit, place. And what you can even do is you can add little extensions to the mountain, or whatever you call it. You just like place this on the side, and you don't have to be fancy. Look, I'm just actually going to copy and paste that over there. Maybe take one of these. Boom. You know, I don't even, now that I'm thinking about it, I don't even necessarily think we need to have that river go along back there. It can just end. Can end like over here. I'm gonna extend this cliff over here. Now for this one, I'm gonna show how you can make a mountain out of mountains. So I'm actually just, I'm taking this piece, rotating it. I just put it inside that one. Then watch this. I can, what does the other side of this look like? Take this side, rotate it this way. Up the scale a little bit. Look at that. They made it real easy to build mountains out of these modular terrain pieces. And look at that mountain I just made. I don't like this bit. Should be more of like a, there you go. Look at that. I made that in 5 minutes, maybe? That was real easy. That was so easy to do. Anyone can do that. Now from on the ground below, as you can see, like, this is looking awesome. Over on the other side of the pond, I basically just kept doing what I just showed you I was doing. I just expanded the mountains, expanded the landscape, basically made it ready for foliage, which we will get into in just a second. But before we even do that, I have some cabins to build. So let's just get into that. And just like that, we made an entire mountain range. Looking at my clock here, in exactly 32 minutes that took me to make all this. Okay, now let's make our little cabins. So I'm gonna completely go off to the side over here. Yeah, honestly, we could use this gallery. This is more what I'm looking for, but it's not in the winter. Maybe we could use the village shop gallery, maybe? Yeah, this could work. This could work. Okay, so let's put these down, and I'm gonna actually size them down. All right, so after about 5 minutes or so, I built this little mini cabin. One thing I am going to do is go into the cube gallery and pick out the yellow glowing cube and put it in the windows or behind the windows. And I'll also put it behind the door and the other window. Now, you'll notice these cabins are not perfect at all, and it's actually on purpose. I don't want to make an entire cabin if, you know, I'm only making a screenshot. It's not worth it. I'm going to go completely off grid, completely. I'm going to take the house and I'm just going to copy and paste it around the map. And it doesn't look like this window copy and pasted correctly, so yeah, I'll just fix that. There you go. One last detail I do want to add. Go back to the cabin gallery. I'm sure they'll have good pieces for it. I want to add a little dock over here, and I'm building on a way smaller scale, and you'll see why in just a second. I'll explain it. Now I could sit here all day and adding tiny little details, but I gotta get this video out, so I'm gonna jump right to the foliage and trees. Now the little trick I mentioned I'm going to show you earlier is basically it's going to make the mountains look like they're larger than life, way larger than they really are. We're going to make everything on a smaller scale, and as we move up to the mountains, we are going to have everything look so incredibly tiny. Like, this is the smallest I can shrink this tree right now, and we are just going to spam it, obviously, with slight variation, just everywhere up the mountain. And as we get closer, down there, we're going to increase the size of the trees. So they'll be a little bigger near the town over here, and so on and so forth, until down here, we have trees that are really, really tall like this. Or maybe not that tall. That's a little much. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to multi-select these and just copy and paste them everywhere. It's going to save you some time, and you can go back later and delete anything that looks a little off. Going around and placing the trees. As I go up, I'm shrinking their size. So in the village over here, they're going to be fairly tiny, not too small. Then obviously up in the mountains over here, they're going to be really tiny. And so I kept on placing trees and placing more trees and more trees and even more trees and more trees and more trees. And more. Yeah, I think you get the point. Okay, and after placing trees for a while, this is the result. Very happy with how this came out. I think it looks pretty awesome. And I was able to build this in just a little over an hour. If this video was entertaining, or if it helped you in any way, consider subscribing. I post a bunch of Fortnite creative content here on YouTube. That's about it for this one, guys. See ya.